Good evening.
Good evening.
We are here, and once again, it is our great pleasure to be in your reality. So things are reaching some big boiling points, absolutely, in terms of the USA elections. That is given, but also in terms of exposures, in terms of taking a stand, in terms of people of the world are going to be shocked. So there's many revelations, bombshells as they are called, truth bombs that are pending, and many people are now privy to behind the scenes very dark secrets, and so we will talk about some of these dark secrets this evening. It is November 3rd, 2016. We are here in Raleigh, North Carolina on a balmy November evening. The temperature today reached about 85, perhaps almost breaking a record from the 40s. The leaves are turning in their own majesty, and the weather is quite pleasant and exceptional. The acorns are coming down in all manner of missiles and flying things through the air, giving indication that there's going to be a very heavy winter ahead. The trees plan, you know, and when they drop buckets and buckets full of acorns, it is a sign that their potato is working, their planning ahead, their consciousness prepares for weather changes and difficult times. The question is, will the people of the United States and of the world be prepared and ready for some of the tumult that is going to unfold? So tonight at Moon Musings number 129, we will explore some of these ideas as we seek to inspire you to have excellence in awareness. And as we empathize with you, we totally agree that awareness, various states of awareness, can be uncomfortable. They can be difficult. Hence, many people want to escape knowing. And there's a lot of confusion now going on in the US of A regarding the elections. You have 5 days to count down, and it looks as if it's going to be quite contentious. Some people are predicting a landslide for the Hill or the Shrill. Others are predicting a landslide for the Donald or the Trumpet. And of course, you must factor in voter fraud, which everyone is assuring everyone it is impossible. However, a behind-the-scenes player by the name of George Soros has long been invested in voting machines. And he's long been invested in putting money behind any manner of organizations that wants to create turmoil, whether it is the Black Lives Matter movement that, of course, goes in to instigate trouble, backing Hillary Clinton, of course, a big instigator of trouble, backing, of course, much of the legalization of marijuana, which can be a gift for many, but also can be an enticement towards getting people to check out and be less available, to be on the ball, to understand what's going on. So there's plenty of double-edged swords and behind-the-scenes movers and shakers, and some of these movers are shaking right now. They have been overconfident. As our vehicle was explaining to you, the bombshell revelations that happened just a few days after Hillary's birthday were based on some very unsavory details, very, very dark details involving high-level pedophile rings that it appears that the Clinton Foundation has been sponsoring and using for pay to play, blackmail, all over the world. It has been alleged that lots of countries and lots of higher-ups from Israel, from the Saudi Arabia, players on Democratic and Republican sides, players, of course, all the way to the White House, and Hollywood is implicated in this, the sports industry is implicated in this. It's so big that once the indictments start rolling, it's going to be difficult to proceed forward with hearings and enough court dates to bring everyone in. Yes, there are the high-level players that are lined up by the Clinton Foundation. And this is not new news. But every news media that is official is turning their heads. No one quite knows how to handle this. Now, one of the things that's come out of this election season is the obvious bias of mainstream media. It's almost like a Hunger Games, where it's lie upon lie upon lie. But in the Hunger Games, the various districts were forced to watch these children play games of death. And newscasters get on there and tell them how wonderful it all is. You are watching people who have been involved in games of death, yes, but usually of young children. Now this is corruption to the extreme. It is sickness, it is depravity, and it's happening all over the world. And there are many, many people, governments around the world, that want to see this brought forward. But unfortunately, the International Monetary Fund, which serves as a World Bank and is busy printing money and planning all manner of rescue once there is a big financial conundrum or collapse, they also help perpetrate this. And because many people have borrowed money, many countries, from the International Monetary Fund, they are in debt. They are owing things. And once you owe favors, you must keep your mouth shut. So this blackmail, this extremely egregious evil behavior, is a worldwide phenomenon. It is not a majority of people, but it is a high number of world leaders. Some that have already exited the world stage over the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And others who are so obsessed with their mental instability that they do not make proper decisions. Basically, everyone is blackmailed. And it has been reported that the Clinton Foundation is in cahoots with the FBI and all the files that the FBI has on everyone. Remember J. Edgar Hoover. Remember him? He was a homosexual at a time when that was forbidden. Therefore, he was the perfect one to be in charge. Why? Because he could be blackmailed. And he had the dirt on everyone, and those higher up from him had the dirt on him. It's only gotten worse since. The dirt they had back in Hoover's days was usually affairs. You wish it was just adult affairs today. this issue that has come around is a very, very old issue. And many cultures around the world used sexuality, cannibalism, and ritual sacrifice, killing of young people, to attract lower vibrational beings. And they do these things in terms of offerings to invite the darker energies to come down to the planet. And the dark energies, of course, are very attracted by dark activities. Then these dark energies feed off of the destruction, the pain, the debasement, and then they tend to arrange situations and empower those who do ritual in their name. At a recent class, someone asked us about the Aztecs and their ritual sacrifice. The Incas did sacrifice, the Mayans did sacrifice. You have many cultures that start off relatively benign, and they make bad decisions, they want more power, and of course everyone has sexual energy. And everyone must learn how to manage their sexual energy. And of course Bill Clinton got caught with his zipper down when he was monocled, so to speak, taken out by a cigar and a vagina. Now Hillary, she's going to be taken out by a wiener. It's not our joke, but we repeated it. It's quite brilliant, yes? Yes. Quite brilliant, yes. And of course, it's quite ironic. And more than that, you have Wiener's wife, Huma, Hillary's aide since the Monica days, and they are more than close. And Huma, just like Hillary, perhaps this is why they bonded. They're both married to husbands who debase them and debase their sexuality. Perverts, to a large extent. Birds of a feather flock together, remember that. People of goodness find one another. People of pain find one another to help each other figure out their pain. And people of debasement and darkness, they find one another. As a people in the United States, you're going to need a lot of courage for what's going to come down in the next few months. There's going to be a lot of remorse, confusion, uncertainty. And at this point, people want to know, those of you our regular students here, who perhaps is going to win the election. If it were up to a straightly counted popular vote, fairly given, at this point, the trumpet has pulled it off. He has enthusiasm, he has crowds, he has people who may not know all the details of darkness, but their morality and their stability in life is being turned over. And they are taking a chance on a very dicey player with Trump. But they know for certain what they would get with Hillary. Now, will that play itself out? It could be a lot of confusion. It could be tied up in courts. It could be a lot of name calling. And it could be, it's possible, that inaugurations are suspended. This could go into all manner of litigation. The people, the Clinton Foundation, as they are being confronted with their evil, they are not going to say, oops, you caught us. We did a Pinocchio, a bad Pinocchio. All right, we surrender. We are debased and bad. You are dealing with psychopathic energy. You are dealing with people who have long been, let's say, who have long made ties to powerful beings in other dimensions. No one's going to give up the game very easily. There is a coup going on right now. It is heating up, and it reached a point of, I'll show you what I have, etc., on, let's say, it was last Friday. That would have been the 26th, 27th, 28th of October. And it's not going to go away, the situation. So it is a good idea to be prepared for many contingencies. There are forces that are going to fight. There are forces that are going to create diversions, hackings perhaps. Perhaps after the election, internet intermittency. Because it looks as if, as we look at it now, that the election is going to be a failure to launch. Meaning that even if the trumpet gets it in a landslide, there's contingency plans to change and rig things. The establishment, those entrenched in monies and position, is, what is Donald saying? We're going to drain the swamp. Mm-hmm. That's full of coded language. That's speaking to those not just who are corrupt with money, but this is code. We are going after you. And we are saying that there are forces in this country, in the military, in the intelligence community, in the reserves, in law enforcement, who feel completely betrayed by, let's say, the agendas of some branches of the New World Order. No one is going to stand down. The line is drawn. And this is a test of morality like you've never seen in this country. And no one on the inside quite knows how to present this to the public. The public had a hard time believing some of the women that Bill said women that said Bill abused them and raped them. Just like the public's having a hard time believing Bill Cosby, Dr. Huxtable, good old dad there, could possibly be such a pervert. You know, we'll give you a clue, folks. Some of the darkest forces on the planet put on the whitest robes. And they pretend to be something during the week. And then in their ritualized moments, they play something else out. And you tend to be, as a people, far too naive. A charity must be for goodness. But a charity that keeps making more and more and more money is not a charity. The idea of charity is to give away, to help the poor, to help others. So the disconnect and the mental conflict that these sexual pedophile rings are going to, let's say, throw people into are going to be only one of the shocks. The other big shock is all the money that's missing and the great amount of debt. There are people who know what they're talking about who say that right now, the USA is over 200 trillion in debt, not the 19 trillion. Now remember, the debt, what you call the debt, doubled. It went from 4 trillion to something like 8 or 9 trillion. Obama came in, and this is the debt from George Washington up to George Bush 1 was 4 trillion. George Bush 2. By the time George Bush 2 leaves, it's up to 8 trillion. Now, by the time Obama's leaving, it's officially up to 19 trillion and counting. And yet, those who are financially astute are projecting that all of this is insolvent. It's untenable. That there is nothing about the financial state of affairs that's even close to being real. So there's 2 big scandals that are going to come up. No monies and a sexual pedophile ring that has been running the global state of affairs and blackmailing world leaders who have perversion and, let's say, their own folly as their first priority. If you wonder why the Congress does nothing, it's because they're blackmailed. And they are blackmailed into doing nothing because there are forces that want to take this country down. We see that it will not work. There are too many good people that want to restore the, let's say, rule of law, which is the Constitution, but it's not going to go away or be easy. It's going to be a very long haul. You know, we've talked about the change over years, 2013 through 2027, that things would slow down and slow down and slow down. And of course, people have a difficult time understanding this. And use your imagination to set the stage that all things will work out better than you can picture. Why better than you can picture? Because there are people on the inside who are losing sleep for their criminal activities. There are many people losing sleep on the inside because they want justice to be done to this dark perversion. They can't imagine that people like you, who are not involved in these kinds of activities, could understand these activities and hold the space open for these issues to be brought forward so that the USA could have a massive cleansing. This is very, 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 very big stuff. So, we've given you the news, and of course there are always solutions. Please know that in every state there are good people ready to come forward. Yet inside every organization there are cheaters, liars, fighting against the good people. So whether it's law enforcement or intelligence agencies or military, there's a big creep factor if no one knows who's betraying them and who to trust. Long ago we said that part of your problem is that you have been genetically altered. We all know that you're only using part of the DNA and part of the cranium. But more than that, you have been punished over centuries, and the DNA carries this memory of if I am psychically aware, it's very dangerous. So even though the psychic awareness is on the rise for many people as they awaken, there are still far too many billions on the planet who are psychically ignorant and cannot tell who's telling the truth and who is not. The financial shocks, the pedophile sex ring shocks, the betrayers of high-level people will shake the world. And of course, as we have always said, when things are shaken, you shake yourselves into greater awareness, greater psychic ability. The shock and the trauma awakens abilities. Unfortunately, it's not a picnic necessarily and a good time that brings out your abilities. They arise out of necessity. And so in your prayers, in your imaginings of peace, in your imaginings of harmony and resolution, hold it open for what you have gone through yourselves, the avenues of greater psychic awareness. Be generous and invite the rest of the world to become much more psychically aware. This will help with many solutions in the future. Do know that you will make it through all of this, that this is a necessary exposure of corruption, and that it will be resolved over time, and that a new day, a new, to use our phrase, bringers of the dawn, can come forward. It will not be easy. It will not be idealistic. It will be a very rough road. All right, that said, let us move into a good night of harmony, insight, brilliance, and solutions. Who would like to begin, please?
Peace, this is Dorsey.
Dorsey, welcome.
I have a question. Do you know anything familiar with B17, vitamin B17, and the benefits of it? The reason I say it because someone about 3 weeks ago said that I gave some information about it, but cancer is known to cure cancer.
B17.
B17 known as Laetrile.
Oh, yes, of course, Laetrile, yes.
And I called around a lot of health stores.
Well, Laetrile was taken off the market a long time ago. Yes, and remember, those who are behind the scenes making laws, they don't want people cured. Look what's happening with the so-called affordable Health Care Act.
Not affordable.
It's no longer affordable. And it's being sold out everywhere, rising by 50%. Reports are that people have to pay $500, $600, $700, $800 coverage for a family of 3 or 4 per month. What does that coverage provide?
Zero.
Nothing. 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 So the good thing about all of this is that the more you are charged, this tax, supposedly, it's not a
mandate.
A mandate. It's not a mandate to buy a product. It's a tax, so to speak, and you'd be fined for it. This is highly unconstitutional, highly against the law, and to let a lion out of the bag, John Roberts was blackmailed. He is the head of the Nines, yes, the Supremes, and when he, a Republican appointee, caved on this, it's because someone said, John Roberts, we'd like to see you in the back room for a moment, please. We have something to show you. You know what that means. Photos, movies, and even if he's a good person, things can be made up. Do you understand? Things can be contrived. People can be slipped what's called a Mickey at a party. That's an old phrase. And compromised and filmed, and then they don't remember any of it, but there they are on film doing debased, unsavory activities. So all of this is ready to collapse. The good part is that as people get desperate and can't afford this Ponzi scheme of nothing, imagine this. If anyone had any common sense left, they would take that $500 or $600 or $700 a month and start investing it into health. Taking B vitamins, boosting the immune system, de-stressing. You can open many magazines. They are filled with all types of very affordable solutions that you have to pay for. But we'll tell you something. It's not the government's job to manage your lives, to manage your schooling, your bathrooms, or your health. The government's job is to stabilize the country and to deal with foreign matters and not to get mixed up on foreign matters. So what's coming down the pike once you get through financial turmoil, the sexual debasement, the cesspool of sexual predators, you're going to have to reorganize the federal government. You're paying taxes and the taxes are being stolen from you and no one's getting anything out of it. Infrastructure's collapsing, schools don't teach anything anymore. You are on the verge of going down the tubes. And so what will happen is the rising of states' rights. Now remember that there are forces that are looking to establish world government. And they see that the US of A and its people are a big stumbling block against a global neutralized people. We are saying to you that the USA was envisioned less than 250 years ago as a fail-safe for such a time as now. We'll see how it comes down. So keep doing a good research, Dorsey. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, I will mention because this person that told me thanked me because I gave him information, and he said his aunt, whoever used it, and they gave her a deadline date. If she didn't take the chemo radiation surgery, she'd go be dead. But 3 years later, she's 73, driving back and forth from Atlanta, just as healthy as she want to be. And she said she just made him, did her study and research and found out B17, and she just started walking, and she just healthy as anything now. And I just want to get the word out. Maybe they can help some others out.
Absolutely. Another product that many people rave about is something called Carnivora. And there's C-A-R-N-I-V-O or R-A or something. You look it up on the internet. But there's been a lot of positive feedback that, again, people are given a prognosis, a doomsday prognosis, and rather than take chemo radiation, it's becoming prohibitive in cost and destroys your immune system. The whole medical model is backwards. First of all, when someone has cancer, you must find out where they have been broken. Where has your spirit been broken? Where are you devastated? What encounter have you done of your own or someone else that has created the trauma that then activates the difficulty? And many people on the planet today are not equipped to think in terms of self-responsibility. But this is the beacon of the future, the ability to take responsibility for your own health and actions. And again, we refer people to the Complete Dictionary of Ailments and Diseases by Jacques Martel to find out what your emotional state of affairs is in relationship to the, let's say, malfunction that you are currently experiencing in the body. If you can create it, you can resolve it in general. But remember, nutrition is an important key. And you have not been raised with this idea. And many people eat products that are draining off their energy, and they feed their taste buds rather than their cells and their organs in the body. But we see a big turnaround coming for all this, that more and more people will find that it's not so difficult to invest a little bit of money and to feel better every month. And we see that Obamacare is going to crash. It may be replaced by something else, but again, there's no monies. There's no monies. All right, who has a question? Who else?
Peace, Win.
Win, welcome.
Thank you. Excuse me. The last time I was here, I spoke with you guys, and you gave me some good insight into my questions.
Yes.
A lot has happened
We told you had a winning name.
Excuse me, yes you did. A lot has happened since then. I've been attacked, I think, by a lot of dark forces.
By dark forces?
By dark forces.
Are you protecting yourself?
Well, I've just learned how to, because I didn't recognize my psychic, abilities or whatever, so I'm just now recognizing them. I'm learning to work with them. But I had been attacked by a lot of dark forces that were trying to discredit me, starting a whole bunch of stuff because of what I'm doing now.
And where were you being discredited?
I was being discredited, talking about, well, right now,
on the computer? Then stay off the computer.
The last advice you gave me the first time I came, I was studying religion. And you guys told me to change my form of study to metaphysics. So I did. I've gotten into that. I really, really have gotten into it. And I'm spreading a lot of ancient knowledge. So because a lot of people knew my past and where I've come from, they try to use that against me to discredit me. And it became like worldwide, big time, whatever. But anyway, at this point, I would like to know, I wrote it down because I'm forgetting. I wrote, can you give me some insight as to my direction right now at this point? And how can I earn a living staying on my path without straying off of my path?
Well, that's very difficult. In other words, lots of people are very challenged how to earn a living, especially when you switch paths. You were understanding and helping people on a religious level, and that is always sex, religion, and what is it, taxes or something like that, and politics. Yes, these are very volatile subjects, and when you change horses in midstream, so to speak, when we say to you, expand your studies in this area, that does not mean that we give you a mandate to go out with a megaphone and tell everyone hey, guess what? That's all phony, go in this direction. Of course you're going to get attacked.
Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Yes, yeah.
So first of all, who you are preaching to is going to be very important. If you are attempting to get people who are religious believers to suddenly see the bigger picture, that's the wrong audience. Mm-hmm. You are not going to convert others by telling them what you discovered, so this then opens you up to attack. It's most natural because you are making people uncomfortable. You understand this, Wynn?
Yes.
Good. And we are spending a little time with you because you are a classic example of someone who is sincere, who wants to help others, discovers something, and in that discovery has a eureka, makes a big change, and then wants to help everyone make that same big change. And what they do is they start blackballing you. They liked you when you believed what they believed. Now that you switch your beliefs, they may not be so comfortable. You need protection. All of you need to use protection in these days. That is a grounding cord, using the imagination, dropping a cord, being in the moment, picturing a solid aura around you, golden, close into the body, no bragging about what you know. And you've created problems for yourself as we see it. Mm-hmm. And that's nice of you to admit it. It's very responsible. So the question is, how now are you going to earn a living? Obviously, your old methodology is not working, and sometimes when things fall apart, there's a uncomfortable position of how do I move in the new direction? First of all, prayer works. In other words, calling to the creative forces of existence, the good forces, to help you, to guide you, to give you clarity of mind. But also, you will need to rein in your desire to convert others. It's important to educate, not to convert.
That's what I was doing. Oh man, I had absorbed so much information. It was just coming from everywhere.
Yes.
And I didn't know what to do with it. It was like it was in me, but what do I do? So I thought if I started maybe sharing a little bit, not trying to convert anybody, because I get down with all religions.
But you are sharing on the computer.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I would. I didn't know where else to go. I didn't know what else to do.
We advise all of you, please, stop sharing on the computer. You set yourself up for all manner of attack. Now, this is a perfect time when we can say once again that all of our work that has been posted on various YouTube channels, it's all pirated, it's all bootlegged, it is in violation of our vehicle's copyright, it is in violation of our desires. Because when you go online, it is a feeding frenzy of trolls. Do you understand this? So stay offline. Stay offline and find another way to, without telling the world, because you are getting yourself set up for many problems. And if you want to help solve the problems, you're the one creating the problem. So stop your behavior, say a few intentions and prayers. You just had a new moon last week. Full moon's going to be around the 14th of November. So ask for guidance, for clarity of mind, and you may have to go in a new direction. What sign are you?
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius. Well, this is very appropriate. What is the date of your birthday?
December 4th, 1967.
December 4th?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you are in it up to your eyeballs right now. December 4th, it is so perfect. December 4th is about 13, 14 degrees, Sagittarius. And guess where Saturn is? 14 degrees, 15 degrees. You have Saturn sitting on your sun, teaching you some big karmic lessons about the bigger picture of reality. Is that perfect or what?
That's perfect.
Yes. And so, and what year are you born?
67.
67. So that is also perfect because you are coming up to your Chiron return. And that happens between 50 and 52. So you are in perfect timing with your crisis. And what that means is that the crisis will pass when you get the lesson. You already know the lesson. Don't brag ideas where they are not needed, and the forces are going to take you down a bit so that you will then go in a new direction. And the next year, let's see, you will spend a few months with difficulty, but certainly by even 6 moons from now, much will be alleviated. All right? Who else has a question?
Hey, this is David.
David, welcome.
You know, looking at all this stuff that is starting to
heating up, yes?
It is starting to seep out.
Let's say it's going volcanic. the lava is going to burn and flow everywhere.
Question. I've noticed that in the last 2 months, the media has tamped down what I consider their drumbeat of trying to create racial conflict, which was nonstop.
Yes, if you notice, it suddenly got very quiet.
It got very, very quiet.
Because for months you had actually from Baltimore in April or May of 2015, it's been nonstop since.
Right. So my question is, if this stuff is getting ready to blow, the sexual stuff, it seems to me they have 3 things they can use, or some combination of all the 3. Racial conflict, UFO, or war. And I recently heard where the British were sending 800 special forces to one of the Baltic countries, which that country has a 30% Russian minority population.
Was it?
It might have been. It was one of the L's.
Latvia, Estonia,
or
yes.
Lithuania. I don't know. It was either Latvia or Lithuania. But it seems to me that the U.S. is pushing. It seems like I remember when NATO was expanded, was it Gorbachev or whoever said, look, we don't have a problem, just don't station troops on our border. Well, we've done that.
Yes, they're lined up in Poland as well.
Right, Romania, the Baltics.
Poland, the Baltics.
I think a lot of people feel this way, that we're the aggressor. And I'm afraid that, or I'm concerned that Russia is going to say, to hell with you and strike out. It seems to me that there seems to be forces, and I'm assuming the Shrill is in favor of this, that wants to create a world war.
Well, remember that the Shrill or Hill is purely a puppet. She's not a high-level player. She's herself corrupt from many, many decades, and she's not calling the shots. Others force her to do certain things. The people that you see in terms of position, whether it is Queen Elizabeth, whether it is the Pope, presidents of countries, etc., they follow orders from others who are behind the scenes. It's always been that way. And there are, if you are loyal to those who want to destroy the freedom of the people of Earth, then a path is laid out for you. But all of this is being tossed to the wind now. And of course, Mr. Putin is totally in on what's going on. He has been giving sanctuary to Edward Snowden for years now. Julian Assange, who is a part of the intelligence community, just as Edward Snowden is. These people are not simply loose bowling balls that hit a strike because they were do-gooders. Do you understand?
Yes.
They are part of the intelligence community. And in the intelligence community, as in the military, as in politics, no one knows who to trust anymore. They're not certain who's betraying whom. It's come out that part of the FBI has been leaking everything to the Clintons, telling them exactly what they were going to be called on. It's come out that people, commentators working for the media were feeding the questions to the Shrill. You would imagine that people would be up in arms and out with their pitchforks over this. What does this say? They're not. It's about cognitive failure and about so much entertainment and so much darkness in the entertainment that people can't tell the difference between a dark TV show, like Breaking Bad, for example. It was about a methamphetamine chemistry professor or something like this, and how cool he was. And all the corruption that's going on around you, people can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not. And so they don't want to act on it. So is war likely? Yes, but not nuclear, although it could slip. You see, there are so many betrayals inside of systems that, again, no one knows for sure who's on what side. They're double and triple agents, attempting to flip people. Right now, the big buzz is, will they be able to flip some of the people that they now have in custody? There are a few players in the USA who have gone missing or disappeared. Some of the associates of the Clintons. That's because they are being held in safe places, because the Clintons have a history of having a lot of people associated with them suddenly end up not alive. It's dark, David. It's very dark. And these mobilizations, as you said, what will alleviate the pressure? War is the default situation, and there's a likely probability that certainly next year the war drums may have to supplant some of the chaos that is being uncovered. The sexual scandals will be very bad. and will shock people. But a bank closure, a governmental failure, an ATM withdrawal law, meaning that, like Greece, you can only take out X amount of dollars a day. This is highly likely to come, because without printing more and more and more and more money, there's no likelihood of keeping the game going. Anything else, David?
North Korea. Do you guys
That's the loose cannon, yeah. And even China may have difficulty in controlling North Korea. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Who else has a question?
I do. Hi, Peace. This is Julie.
Julie, welcome.
Thank you. It's been, prior to a week and a half ago, it's been about 20 years since we've shared company.
Yes, but this is good that you have returned.
Yes, and I had a little chuckle with myself after a week and a half ago, and I got home, and things started shifting, and then I remembered what it was to be in your company.
Yes, well, once we start unraveling the ball of yarn, all manner of new outfits are knitted.
Absolutely.
How did you like that metaphor?
Yes, I did.
Yes, all right. So what's your question, Julie?
I have been thinking about women, being a woman.
Yes.
And some of what this election has brought forth has been, especially by the trumpet, although Hillary has certainly got her share of darkness going. But I've been thinking about women, and I've been aware since I was a little girl about how women and girls are perceived. And I'm just wondering what it's going to take to shift that.
Let's ask you a question.
Sure.
Why would, in your opinion, the women in the trumpet's life not call him on the carpet, or really give it to him? In other words, his wives, his daughters, and said to him, "You're making an ass of us and half the population of the world." Another question. Why do women allow men to touch them inappropriately, rape them, grope them, and keep quiet about it? Yes, we know that a woman has been taught that it's her fault. And of course, these kinds of things can be very confusing. But if women want to move the energy, they're going to have to not put up with this kind of behavior. What's happened is that women think that a Roger Ailes, for example, this was the head of Fox News or something like this, that this is how you get ahead. You allow someone to touch you, and you allow someone to do sexual things to you. It's women who are selling out. Do you understand?
I do.
Any woman who's worth anything, if she wants to move up and men are attacking her and doing things to her, she needs to wash her hands and say, tell everyone what they've done and get out. So women have created this problem for themselves because women keep selling out. And mothers and daughters and wives and sons, mothers and wives and daughters, women, are not holding their men accountable. And Hillary actually is an insult to the women of America. If, for example, Hillary does secure the election, and secure a position and become inaugurated and all of this, she's going to go down worse than her husband.
That wouldn't surprise me.
The indictments The indictments will not be about sperm on a blue dress and a cigar in a private area. The indictments are high-level perversion, treason, betrayal. So she has to be nuts to even want the position to start with. Do you understand?
Yes.
So what does this say about women in the USA? That all the dirt is out about her and they're still cheering for someone who has such a tarnished position? Ladies of the world, get your act together. Raise your standard yourselves and do not expect men to raise your standard for you. Hillary lowers that standard, and so does her partner Huma, because they both cover for husbands who have betrayed them.
They put up with it.
They put up with it. Why do they put up with it? Because they are not heterosexually oriented in that relationship. You understand?
I do. And I was thinking some of the women in Trump's life, I mean,
Why do they put up with it?
whatever benefits there are to...
The benefits, absolutely. The benefits. Women will sell out. They think they have to sell out to get ahead. And as long as you believe that, then that's what you're going to get. Women are actually very efficient at running things. And men are very efficient too. And if they could cooperate as they do in marriage and compromise, this country and the world could get ahead. But most of the people that are looking for leadership roles, they have power agendas. And just to give you, Julie, and everyone else a tidbit, many of the players that are rising to the surface today, the scum players, they are old players reincarnated, returning.
Yeah, that's not a surprise.
Yes, many of them are old players. We do not like to claim who is who and what's what, but just know that this is old stuff and it must be resolved along the lines of time. And some of these people have deep, deep connections to the governing Anunnaki. So what else, Julie?
Well, my sense of women in this country supporting Hillary is that they see it as finally our birthright to be in that position of power, but just really ignoring the darkness that she is. And it's such a falseness. And it's, as a woman, it's really disconcerting to me. I was actually more encouraged by when all of the ugliness with the trumpet was going on, by everyday American men, I think for the first time realizing how many of us have been sexually assaulted.
Yes, because many American men were appalled and disgusted at Trump's behavior. And he's had to clean up his act. But how come women are not disgusted at Hillary's behavior? Perhaps they are, perhaps the media is taking it to complete blackout, but women of America, as someone said recently, I feel really sorry for all the Hillary supporters, because once they find out what she really represents, they are going to be mortified. And they are going to be made fools of for their ridiculous passions that have no founding in logic or, let's say, achievement of purpose.
Yes, and it's ironic that the women whose eyes are open to that are the ones who support Trump, who's got his own ugliness that's sort of being washed over.
Oh, he's got a huge ugliness.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But when you compare, let's say, corruption to corruption, the Clintons win in a landslide.
Absolutely.
In terms of corruption. In terms of jerks, Clinton wins. I mean, sorry, Trump is the ultimate demagogue jerk. But he also has a big ego. You understand?
Yes.
And his big ego does not want him to fail. And his big ego may be the winner in the end, so that he can say, look, America, what I have done for you. Do you understand this?
Yes.
That he may have backed himself into a corner by being a jerk. And now there's only one way out, not being a jerk. By showing America, I'm really going to do something for you. Can he turn things around? Anything can be changed, but it's not going to be instant. That's what most people are not getting. We are in, you are in, we are in. It's all the slowdown period. So it's going to take at least till 2028 to sort the big messes out. And that's quite a few election cycles.
I'll keep taking care of my health.
Absolutely, and raise your standard for yourself. And women, men, protect women. That's your job, to protect them, to honor them. And women, your job is to respect men as well and to allow them to protect you. And don't lower your standards. Everyone must raise their standards of respect and understand that you cannot produce life effectively without male and female vibration. So why diminish one or the other? Do you understand?
Yes.
They both are needed to keep life perpetuating on the planet. Obviously, you have some historical problems in terms of angry gods a long time ago, and very, very old issues that ideally will come to be understood over the next number of years. But in the meantime, respect all the way around and trustworthiness. Men need to thank women, and women need to thank men. And if you can restore that, you will rise above this Atlantean chaos of confusion, of identity and societal breakdown and dark forces and all of this stuff. All right, it was a good question, a good subject. It needed to be addressed, and we thank you, Julie, for bringing that out. Who else has a question or comment?
Hello, Peace. This is Marcella.
Marcella, welcome. You've made the journey down 95.
Yes, thank you. My question is, with the political scene so volatile at the moment, and the United States being seen, I guess, as a roadblock to one world order,
Yes.
will we soon be dealing with a chipping decision, or will they try to slide that in a back door?
The chipping, of course, has been around long time, but there's desperation now to chip people, and of course one of the methodologies is through vaccination. Staying under the radar and holding your own clarity of mind of what you are and are not available for, and focusing on this revolution of mind resolving itself by truths coming forward. And you don't have to get deeply involved. Your role, as we help you out with this, is to know what's going on, not to get out there and be a protester. So we see that unrest is building. And it's happening not just in North America, it's all over the world. Europe is in turmoil, you know. Big turmoil in Europe over the immigration issue, over the euro collapsing, over Brexit, and more countries are broke, and everything is falling apart. Now, the New World Order team wants this, because then they figure if it falls apart enough, we can waltz in as a savior. But there are forces, too many good forces, even on the dimensions, who are going to help you out. But they're not going to save you. You are here for the show of a lifetime, friends. The show of a lifetime. And the energy from the end of the Mayan calendar, again 1987 through 2012, boosted you with information and confidence and energies. Now, the game is afoot. What else, Marcella?
Yes, in the past you taught us that our car or truck or vehicle is an extension of us, and so if we get into an accident, there's some type of energy blockage. How does that work if you're a passenger or for your passengers and there's some type of collision? Is the impact concerning only the driver or everybody in the car?
Well, first of all, a way to look at a vehicular crash, but it generally stops you from what you were doing. You understand?
Yeah.
Just as if you take a fall, it stops you from going forward or where you were going or what you were doing. And so you would ask yourself, if you were a passenger, what is the issue, that I'm trusting people, and this. And then you ask yourself also too, what was I thinking about before the crash, after the crash, what issue was also on my mind, and how did this prevent me from going forward with my plans, and what new things did I have to take on? So you would ask yourself, was I injured, or did I come out of this unscathed? That would be a big one too. Mars conjunct Pluto, we think it was there. Around the middle of the month or some such, around the 19th. And right down the road on 95, within a few hours, you had 3 major wrecks. People died, explosions, fires, all this kind of stuff. So sometimes on a volatile day, in a volatile situation, people who are unconscious, who are not aware, yet they have something brewing underneath, they unwittingly get themselves in a certain situation. Were you in a wreck? Yes.
Yes, I was a passenger, and we were hit in the rear by a drunk driver. He was 3 times over the limit, and I mean, I'm not really hurt, but I was just wondering if that had to do with my energy or the person who was driving the car.
It would be a group event. It would be also the mass consciousness, yes, the mass consciousness on an unconscious level. And who got the worst of it? The driver?
Nobody was really hurt in it, just the car.
All right. And so it shook you up, yes?
Yes, yes.
And perhaps it helped certain issues come to the surface.
I'm not sure.
And here's another one. Here's another one. The crash happened, but you were fine.
Yes.
Perhaps that's a metaphor for the crash that's coming. Do you understand?
Yes.
Crash coming, but we'll be fine.
But you'll be fine.
Okay.
Yes, and a few people, again, have had a few falls and things of this nature. Our vehicle, just to put a personal story out there, had a new pair of socks, hand knitted, wool. Our vehicle was raving about them. They were wonderful. And she took a corner in her house with these new socks on. And yes, they were wool, and she has wooden floors, and she went flying. Yes. And she said, good thing that her padding, that is a little bit of extra in the hip area, allowed her to land with a bit of a bruise, but she did say this to her chiropractor, that she landed quite flexibly and gracefully, and then she had a chiro appointment a few days later, synchronistically, the chiro person, and you need a chiro adjustment after a crash, remember that. The body gets shaken up, you need to be reorganized. And the chiro did a pulls here and there, and our vehicle said, good thing I've been doing yoga all these years. I fell, but no problem, just a bit of a bruise. She took arnica and a few other things, and she's fine. And it's the same for you. You are fine, you understand?
Yes, yes. Yes, thank you very much.
You are welcome. Who else has a question?
This is David. I'm sorry. This is David. Speaking of shaking things up,
Yes.
there's been some major earthquakes in central Italy, and they said the last one that was just this past week was like 7 billion in damage. That's a lot of damage. And then they said that they fear the big one is going to hit Rome. And
Yes.
I'm thinking,
Anunnaki
okay,
Center.
yeah, I'm thinking, okay, that means something's going to be shook up at the Vatican.
Yes, absolutely. And these are all within and we heard the beeper, thank you. They are all within a 100-mile radius or less of the Vatican. And yes, there's fault areas that go through there. When Rome is shaken, you will know some big, big stuff is working on a karmic level, on a timeline level, to unlock a lot of secrets. So yes, that is, it was just before Halloween in the High Strega. Strega and Stregone are the ancient witchcraft tradition that was prevalent in Italy long, long, long ago. And so the Strega count the end of the year at the end of October, and that the year begins with November 1st, All Saints' Day, the 2nd's All Souls' Day. These are big times for happenings, and you can bet that in Italy, a lot of old Strega and Stregone were working their magic in that portal, and the quake may have been, let's say, the result of some magical activities that it works that way. Alex, we heard your name in this. Squeeze it in quickly.
Yes, please.
Welcome.
Thank you. I was wondering, we just started the talk talking about corruption. And the area where I am from, in Mexico, it's an area that it's being hit by not only corruption but violence, a lot of organized crime.
And what area is this?
It's in Veracruz, it's the Gulf of Mexico.
All right.
Gulf of Mexico.
Yes.
And there's a big settlement there, pre-Hispanic, and pyramids in that area. Also, people lately are moving out because of the situation with the organized crime. And the oil company in Mexico, one of the big bases are in that area. The question is, people are saying that the only thing that is working now or is prosperous is the oil platforms in the ocean in that same area. And they said that what they have found in that under the water, it's a major discovery that it will come in a few years. And I was wondering if the reasons that the violence
is to chase people out.
Exactly, if it's related.
Yes, we will say yes to all that you are saying, and it was discovered many years ago that there were major UFO bases underneath the Gulf of Mexico. And it's a big, big secret. And of course, these pyramids that are found not only all over the earth, but throughout your solar system, they are the signature of the Anunnaki. When they build a pyramid, it is like their marker to say, we own this territory. It is their way of planting a flag. And the world is in turmoil now, financially, from corruption, from sexual debasement, from people betraying each other. It's all bubbling up to a major, major confrontation. And the U.S. is only one country that is going to be dealing with this. Mexico, as your neighbor, is deeply implicated in much of the U.S. corruption, and also this need to keep things behind the scenes. So let us give summation. In some of the emails that have been leaked out through WikiLeaks and Assange and others, John Podesta, who has handled the Clintons, Obama, he's deeply implicated in these email scandals. He's obviously stressed to the max. He's obviously been covering up the sex games for everyone, but more than that, he has been, let's say, he has a great passion, or he's promoting it on this ET issue. People may want to use the discovery or the shock of extraterrestrial presence to throw the issue up into the sky rather than to what's on Earth. Meaning, people will have so much to think about, they're going to have to prioritize which is scarier, which is more important. And of course, what could be discovered and what is being discovered around Mexico again. Mexico was a colony of the Anunnaki by way of Enki and his genius son, Thoth Hermes Mingish Zidar. So, you're at a cliffhanger. The clock is ticking. And there are situations coming from multiple directions. You will be fine. Remember that. You are here to know. And that's what we ask you to do, is to, in your knowing, understand these larger situations and to go about life. Now, it is important to make preparations, to have supplies, to have cash, to have food, to have many things. There are people in the United States who are preparing for turmoil. Goodness will prevail. Hold on to that. And hold on to your own goodness. And this can make all the difference in how you experience the changeover. The changeover is going to expose extreme darkness. In order for anything to heal, the truth must be looked at. As the truth is explored, then a true assessment can be made. Once the assessment is made, then solutions and resolution can occur. This is a long-term project, but understand, this is why good people have incarnated, to be called forth now. So, dear friends, do your very best to stay grounded, bubble up with your aura, and put a smile on your face. Victory, of course, is a victory in consciousness. And consciousness and awareness, at the end of the day, always come out ahead. That said, we bid you the very best of pleasant journeys. Good evening.